Fire Emblem Engage is 1 week away, and marketing on the English side continues to be abysmal. To make it sting a bit more, Nintendo of Korea got a translated narration of the introduction to Fire Emblem trailer that was out a couple weeks ago. That entire Korean trailer uses freaking English text and English in-game voiceover. There is zero reason we shouldn't get this with English narration. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to watch it because there's a lot of menus and text to read. I will be seriously mad if we do not get this in full English within the next week. Now, this could have been another short news week, except the previewer from Nintendo World Report, Matt Zawodniak, has been answering questions about the game. He did an almost 40-minute Q&A on some of the more detailed parts of the game. He posted pure gameplay of part of Chapter 7, and has posted nearly 300 screenshots to the Nintendo World Report gallery for Fire Emblem Engage. While the Japanese Fire Emblem Twitter account has posted some more interesting tidbits, Matt has single-handedly carried the past week in news. I'll link those videos and screenshot gallery down below. Give them a look. Thanks to Matt's effort, we will be discussing the full list of unique skills for every character up to the Embargo preview, which is Chapter 8 by the way. We know the full list of unlocks for the Emblem Rings up to Bond Level 10. And from Serena's Force, apparently we have some details on type bonuses. There's quite a lot to discuss thanks to more preview gameplay. Before we get serious, there are some links I want to point out. In Matt's Q&A video, at the very end, we get, I believe, our first peek at the Japanese version of the main theme. The cheesy vibes are still apparent, but reminder, there is another Japanese version of the main theme sung by a woman. It was slowed down, sounded more dramatic, and was used in one of the Japanese commercials. If you want to hear a full instrumental version, well, someone has basically uploaded the entire early 2 chapters from the beginning of the game. It's full-on tutorial stuff, but the map theme is a calming version of the main theme, and I really like it there. Then later on, the rock and roll version from the opening kicks in, and it's excellent. Fire Emblem incorporates rock instruments so well with the usual orchestral score. When the game starts with electric guitars blazing, that's a fun sign. Just from all the trailers and clips, there are some incredibly catchy songs I already love. Again, links will be in the description for all of this. Last week, I did not get to mention a couple details regarding game settings. We knew that you can play on Maddening mode day 1, but we have since learned that apparently both hard and Maddening difficulty give you 10 time crystal rewinds out of the gate. In past games, the number of retries could be increased throughout the game, so maybe that can go up as well. Another thing I did not get to talk about was that there is a growth method setting when starting a new game. Interestingly, according to Matt, his new game screen did not have this growth method feature. You can infer from that this is possibly a new game plus feature only. We also don't know if the feature itself means fixed growth rates for level ups. I believe this has been handled differently in past games. Back to Maddening difficulty, one of the ways they are increasing the challenge is via certain new skills that prevent break on the bosses. Yeah, saw that one coming from a mile away. One of the armored bosses also has a skill that made them unbreakable and immune to effectiveness. Now we got some confirmations on how the Amiibo Gazebo works in Engage. Similar to 3 houses, you can scan any kind of Amiibo for various rewards and materials, but using Fire Emblem Amiibo gets you better stuff. You can scan 5 per day. From the way it's been worded, it sounds like you need to specifically use Fire Emblem Amiibo to get the voucher tickets for music tracks and outfits of the Emblem characters. By the way, the outfits are gender locked, but it does seem like everyone can try them on, not just Alir. Obviously, it should be expected that we don't have 12 Fire Emblem Amiibo. You can scan the same FE Amiibo you have, however the tickets are not a guarantee, and I'm not even sure if there's like a first time use guarantee either. It is possible that even with 5 Fire Emblem Amiibo, you might have to keep trying every day to get enough tickets. Good old RNG. I think we need to see more people's experiences with this first before fully judging. Maybe you can get tickets with the non-FE Amiibos as well, but we don't know. Let's clear up some details on mechanics. Some of my questions were answered in the past week. Interesting note from Matt's follow-up question video was about the weapon triangle affecting damage or hit rates. From his testing, he did not find it affected either. He wasn't 100% sure, however it seems like in Engage the weapon triangle advantage is purely to inflict the break status. From some of my observations, when Chain Guard is active, it does make the attack in the preview window show up as a 0. Reminder, it takes 20% of the Chi Adept's HP to soak the hit. The Chain Guard block will also prevent break, which is neat, however it doesn't prevent follow-up attacks, and the second hit can then break the main fighter. I'm curious if Chain Guard can soak the entire smash mechanic too. A bit random, but we finally have some concrete details on the new ice obstacles. You can place them with the obstruct staff, and they do indeed block movement on that space for one entire turn. I wonder if Fliers can hover over them though. Now regarding gender locked classes, from what we have seen and from my understanding, the only gender locked class is the basic Sword, Axe, and Lance Flyer class, aka the Pegasus Knights are female only once again. Now, how do we get male Griffin Knights or Wyvern Riders then? With second seals. You basically just promote sideways so long as you are in an advanced class at level 1 and you have the correct weapon proficiencies. Thanks to Maddening screenshots, we got a good confirmation of personal skills for nearly every unit up to chapter 8. Let's go through them. I'll be grouping these by the lords and the retainers since a couple of them do synergize with their main party. For Lear, their Divinely Inspiring grants adjacent allies plus 3 damage and makes them take 1 less damage. Super simple, but solid. Vander's Alabaster Duty grants plus 5 crit to himself and Lear when next to Lear. Clan's Verdant Faith and Fram's Crimson Cheer work similarly. Clan gives plus 10 hit, Fram gives plus 10 avoid. The stewards can just set up a death ball around Lear, I guess. Moving on to the Pyrenees, Alfred's Self-Improver grants plus 2 strength if you wait without doing anything. Pretty basic enemy phase perk. Boucheron's Move to Tears grants plus 2 damage when an ally joins a chain attack when Boucheron is fighting. Unfortunately, not too many backup units very early on. Etier's Energize grants plus 2 strength for 1 turn when she recovers HP using an item. Basically similar to Alfred, but Etier needs to use a vulnerary or something. For Saline, Gentle Flower grants 50% healing to allies using recovery items within 2 spaces. That's not too bad. I wonder if it will affect herself. Louise' Admiration states if 2 female allies are adjacent within 2 spaces, this unit takes 2 less damage during combat. Chloe's Fairy Tale Folk states if a male and female ally are adjacent within 2 spaces, unit deals plus 2 damage. Saline and her retainers are definitely meant to work together. Louis tanks better, Chloe does more damage, and Saline can boost healing items. For our Brodians, Alcrest's Get Behind Me states when an ally within 2 spaces is attacked, grant plus 3 strength for 1 turn. Not fully sure if this refers to getting hit, getting into any fight, or if it's enemy phase only. For Lapis, Share Spoils grants plus 10 hit and avoid at the cost of minus 10 crit if she's next to an ally. Seems a bit interesting if you don't mind dropping crit rates. For Citrine's Generosity, when she uses a healing item, adjacent allies also recover the same amount of HP. Now, can we combo this with Saline's skill that boosts the healing amount? That would be pretty good. Next, Diamant's Fair Fight grants plus 15 hit to himself and the enemy if he initiates combat and the foe can counter back. Very noble, but definitely maybe dodge tanking isn't Diamant's forte. For Amber's Aspiring Hero, if no other units are adjacent to himself or the foe he is fighting, grants plus 20 hit at the cost of minus 10 avoid. Unless I missed it, I don't believe Jade's skill was seen, but seeing that she is an arm unit, I guess Diamant's crew is just all about brawling. They are still enemies, but we get to see the Illusion's skills on the field. Hortensia's Big Personality is certainly aptly named, and it grants plus 1 range when you use a healing staff. Flying Healer is always nice, and I guess you can super boost the range with Emblem Micaiah. Goldmary's Disarming Sigh inflicts minus 20 hit on the foe if they are male. Kind of a sizable debuff that I assume is going to work quite often. For Rosado's Stunning Smile, inflict minus 20 avoid on the foe if they are male. You would think it would be easy to avoid the big pink flying wyvern. For Ivy, Single-Minded grants plus 20 hit only if the foe was Ivy's most recent opponent. Seems a bit tough to use, but Ivy also comes with Emblem Leaf in that mission she has seen. Leaf has his weapon triangle switching when attacked, and he has Vantage, so in combination, this could be an interesting pair against tougher foes. For Kagetsu's Blinding Flash, if he initiates combat, inflict minus 10 avoid on the foe during combat. Very simple, but definitely useful all the time. For Zelkov's Not Quiet, if foe initiates combat, inflict minus 10 hit on that foe during combat. Basically, enemy phase version of Kagetsu's skill. As a covert thief, Zelkov will be super hard to hit when he's hiding on terrain that boosts avoid. Last up, we have the non-royals or retainers. Yunaka's Trained to Kill grants plus 15 crit when she is on a terrain that boosts avoid. Not only does she double the avoid bonus as a covert unit, 15 crit, pretty good. For Anna, Make a Killing grants plus 500 gold when she defeats a foe, but the trigger percentage is her luck stat. I wonder if there's going to be other gold making methods in this game to abuse. Last up, Jean's Expertise grants enhanced stat growth on level ups. Oh boy, so this kind of confirms Jean is the villager character of Engage. Reminder, the DLC has Emblem Tiki as one of her sync skills is also increased stat growths. That kid is going to be a monster. Moving on to the emblem ring stuff, Matt was asked about how the emblem rings are portrayed in the story, and they don't seem to have much relevance to the main plot itself. That was what I was hoping for because we want to focus on the new characters of Engage. We will get to know more about the various Fire Emblem protags via bond conversations, but these are not as detailed as regular support conversations. They do seem to have A, B, and C bond conversations for every single character though, so honestly, there should be a decent amount of characterization for players who haven't played those past FE games. Let's now go over the Emblem Ring Bond level rewards up to level 10. We got info for Marth, Celica, Sigurd, Micaiah, and Roy. Hopefully my shoddy table is eligible because I'm not going to be mentioning every skill since we've gone over the major things like sync skills and engage attacks. The common perks for each of these are that skill inheritance, it requires bond level 5, and you unlock the second engage weapon at level 10. Keep in mind, bond levels go past level 10, we're just not sure how to unlock this just yet. People are speculating that that is what the throwback maps are for. For example, you do a paralog for Marth maybe, and that could let you level up more bond levels, and that is how you're going to get his classic Falchion. Now, for some of Marth's other skills we haven't touched on so far, Perceptive grants plus 15 avoid when initiating and increases with speed. Obviously, you could stack that with Marth's avoid plus 20 later on. There is also Sword Agility, which grants avoid at the cost of crit with a sword. I'm a little lost on why you would use Sword Agility when avoid plus 20 does the same thing with no downside. Now, as for break defenses, if you break the foe, you make an extra weaker follow-up attack. Marth grants sword proficiency at level 8, and Mercurius is at the level 10 weapon. It grants double XP, although I assume only when you use it in battle. Keep in mind, most of these skills are inheritable, but SP costs can vary wildly. For example, Unyielding, which grants a heal when on low HP, only costs 100 SP. Perceptive is 250 SP, and Break Defenses is a massive 2000 SP. We know these from the Somniel trailer. One thing that hasn't been discussed is how easy or hard it is to get SP in this game. Hopefully it's not too bad. Now we got some additional info on type bonuses for these skills, however I cannot confirm if these are correct. It's listed on Serenus Forest, and I tracked down the source to a user, Tipper the Scales, supposedly asking one of the previewers about this info. They posted this on the Serenus Forest forums, and they were a contributor to past articles, so I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. There is no public record of the previewer giving these answers though, so take it with a grain of salt. For Marth's Divine Speed, grant HP recovery to Alir's Dragon type for the extra attack. For covert units, if the extra attack hits, poison the foe. For Lodestar Rush, we knew Alir gets 2 hits, but apparently backup even gets an extra hit as well. Mystical units deal damage based off their magic stat. Next up, we saw some of Celica's skills last week, but here's the full list. She has a basic magic stat booster, and Resonance grants damage in exchange for HP. Tome Precision grants Hit and Avoid with tomes, and Celica grants magic and sword proficiencies. She grants the Recover Staff at level 10. Important detail, Holy Stance seems weaker than previously mentioned. We'll get to it later, but the sync skills can be upgraded, they just seem locked to later levels. For Celica's type bonuses, Echo grants plus 1 range to Alir. Mystical units get plus 10 damage, which seems crazy, but remember, Echo splits one attack into 2 actions at half damage. For Warp, Ragnarok, we knew Fliers get plus 5 warp distance, and a Nintendo Twitter post let us know mystical units get plus 20 damage. For Cavalry, they apparently get plus 2 warp distance, and for Alir, they get plus 1 attack range. Now, Sigurd has some fun skills. We know Canter is inheritable, so that's going to be crazy. He has hit plus 15, the passive plus 5 movement from Gallop, and Momentum adds attack for every space moved. That is a neat skill for Sigurd's insane mobility. Lance Power grants attack in exchange for avoid, and Headlong Rush has its freeze immunity. Still not sure where that comes from. Sigurd can grant Lance proficiency at level 6 and sword proficiency at level 9. There will be no shortage of sword proficiency if you want to use a sword class. At level 10, Sigurd has the Brave Lance, 2 hits in a row on initiations, a classic. For Sigurd's type bonuses, on top of Gallop's insane plus 5 movement, Alir gets another plus 1 movement and Cavalry get plus 2. Covert units do not pay any movement costs on terrain, so they can definitely blaze through some forest tiles. For Override, Alir gets plus 20% damage, Armor get a 10% chance to break the foe, and Chi Adept bumped it up to 20% break chance. Doesn't seem that reliable. Last up, mystical units deal damage based on 25% of their magic stat. For Micaiah's skills, we knew about her healing focus with staffs. Healing Light is essentially left to serve. The user heals when healing an ally. She has Staff Mastery, which grants hit plus 15 for the offensive staffs, and then healing staffs get extra healing. She grants Staff Proficiency at a very early level 3, which is interesting, and I assume she's one of the few emblems with Knife Proficiency. If you want to play around with that fancy new Wolf Knight class, better use Micaiah. She does also have Magic Proficiency, but it's at a late level 9. For some other skills, you have the basic res stat booster and Silence Ward being immune to the silence status. Hopefully that's not going to be in high demand. Last, Nosferatu at level 10 gives you another way to heal by attacking. Micaiah's type bonuses include +1 staff range for Alir on top of Augment's +5 range. Chi Adept heal for 20% more. For Great Sacrifice, Alir stays at 30% max HP instead of dropping to 1 health. Army units get +1 defense to the healed allies. Chi Adept will cure his statuses along with the full heal. That one seems like a good one. Last up, Roy. He has the Strength stat booster, and Sword Power can grant more attack at the cost of a void. Advance is a new skill we haven't really seen, and it sounds sort of like a combat art almost. It lets you move 1 space toward a foe that is 2 spaces away, and then you get to attack. That's an interesting skill. Roy's lone proficiency is swords once again. You would think Intelligent Systems would have learned about making every single protagonist a sword user, and it's kind of boring, but then here we get Alir, another sword user. At level 10, Roy gets the Worm Slayer. As a reminder, Wyvern Knights are considered dragons, and there are the big dragon type enemies in this game. Last thing I want to highlight, Hold Out is a sync skill that lets the user survive a fatal hit when above 30% HP. Well, look down the list and Hold Out Plus exists, which moves the HP threshold to 20%. Later on, assuming past level 10 will upgrade more of these sync skills, so that's when I assume Celica's Holy Stance gets its 50% damage reflect. We did not get any info on Roy's type bonuses. We previously only knew that Alir damages the entire 3 by the grid with Roy's engage attack. Next topic are the Bond Rings. Thanks to Matt, we got a full list of Bond Ring characters for the current emblems. My biggest takeaway from this is that having a Bond Ring does not mean you can't be a DLC emblem bracelet. Marth has Tiki, and Tiki is still a DLC emblem. The other potential obvious DLC emblems listed here to me are Alm, since he literally shares half the game with Celica. For Sigurd, I feel like if they wanted to bring in anyone else, it would be Seliph, right? Genealogy of the Holy War has 2 generations of characters, and Seliph is Sigurd's son, leading the next gen. He also won a Seawell spot in Fae last year, so maybe that raised his chances a bit. Some other funny observations, Celica brought May, but not Bowie, ouch. And then for Micaiah in Radiant Dawn, you have a bunch of very important characters to the plot like BK and a whole slew of the royalty. Then there's old country girl Nephany, someone on the dev team has got good taste. Regarding the DLC emblems, I assume they will have Bond Rings because it's more of a fun reference to the games. I don't think it's been confirmed how that plays out though. Still on the topic of Bond Rings, Serenus Forest has some more info about S-rank rings with skills. I am not sure where they got this info, but once again, sounded like someone asked one of the previewers and got these answers. I'm not confirming any of this except for Salt. For Marth's Bond Rings, Shida has Sympathetic, which reduces damage by 5 when the foe initiates and you have less than half health. Navarre has Deadly Blade, which grants +10 crit on initiations with swords. For Celica, Alm has Windsweep, prevent a counterattack when you use swords, and trigger % is equal to his luck stat. May has Great Thunder, which grants +20% damage when you use the Thunder, El Thunder, and Thoron spells. For Sigurd, Deirdre has Renewal, heal 5 HP every turn. Seliph has Battle-Wise. When initiating, if you defeat a foe, gain +1 crit. Stacks up to 10 times, and it persists for the whole battle. That's a cool one. For Micaiah, we know Soth gets Bane, can reduce enemy HP to 1, triggering off half the dexterity stat. Alencia then has Mercy. If the attack would have defeated a foe survives with 1 HP. That's a strange one, but maybe it's good for feeding kills, I don't know. For the Somniel stuff, kind of a lot to talk about. From the JP Twitter account, we got a clip of the flea market. I thought this was like Anna's shop at first, but it looks like anyone might be able to show up here. It features rare items that can change out over time, although it appears to mostly be the gift items. Speaking of gifts, for Matt's screenshots, there are some amazing reactions to giving characters some of the less desirable items. Some of these lines are savage, and it's just fun to see. I assume like in 3 houses, each character will have specific gifts they like, and will find random ones throughout the Somniel. This is probably just to boost support points since motivation isn't really a thing in this game. The photo mode in the Somniel was teased last week by previewers, but the JP Fire Emblem Twitter account provided an entire example of how the feature works. Pick a spot in the Somniel, and you can position units including Somni and the emblems. You can then equip any outfits or accessories you have for them, and you can pose them as well. It also appears you can make them look at the camera from when you want to snap a nice photo. I was a little worried that this feature was going to be very basic, however, it looks like another polished thing for those that like photo modes in the game. There are some great poses characters get to do. With these photos, you can use them for your profile card, and once again, it appears to have a good bit of customization options. There are titles, phrases, favorite character, favorite map, playtime, and more. You can change the background, colors, symbols around the edges, and even place stamps of the pixel sprites. I'm not entirely sure how you get to see other people's cards in game, but in the Japanese clip, we saw the bottom right feature a section for Tempest Trials and the Outrealm Trials, which is the online Aether Raids type mode. You'll probably get other people's cards when you play their map, however, I'm hoping for some other methods. Regarding boxed lunches, aka the bentos you can get after cooking, we got some details. You can only get one boxed lunch to take into battle, and after battle, they expire. Between fights, you need to cook again in the Somniel, and apparently, cooking has a small chance to fail. Boxed lunches seem to purely be healing items. They could save buying more vulneraries, and we know Celica's favorite food skill is very strong since eating a boxed lunch grants full engaged meter. I can see why they might limit you to one per battle. We did learn that you can cycle time in the Somniel, and this happens when you go to sleep. Doing so will also change where characters are in the Somniel. In 3 houses, each chapter had characters in the same spots for the whole month. The Somniel seems like it's going to be a little more random, which is fine by me since they're trying to make it a more relaxing, fun, and lively zone. This brings me to the next point, which has basically been confirmed, is that the Somniel character lines do not seem fully voiced. That's disappointing to me because fully voiced dialogue really benefits Fire Emblem a lot. I love the unique dialogue in 3 houses when you share meals with certain characters, and that might still be in Engage, it just won't have full voiceover. It also seemed like the Somniel dialogue is going to be more generic and tied to the location the character is standing at, like at the pool or near the cafe. In 3 houses, for every single chapter, the students had new lines, and many were tied to the current events in the story. This is still in Engage from the sound of things, however, I think that's going to be shifted more into the after battle exploration feature. It makes sense, right? After the fight, your units will say something relevant to what just happened. However, those don't seem to be voiced either. Again, I am disappointed by that. With all this said though, my assumption why they maybe cut this is that it's part of why 3 houses can be a bit long to get through, especially on later playthroughs. I like the fully voiced lines, but 100% it makes the in-between battle sections much longer. That was the main issue with the game, so I think they cut some of those lines to save time and streamline things. I would have liked the option to listen since you can just read and skip the whole voiceover, but it is what it is. To summarize, main chapter plot and stuff and supports are still fully voiced of course, but the flavor text and Somniel stuff don't really appear to be. For some of the more extra Somniel content, we got more footage of the Wyvern flying minigame. Nothing really new learned, just an extended shot of the gameplay. We got another clip of Alir going to sleep and being woken up by an ally, this time Ponette. From Matt's follow-up video, he did mention that this feature felt ASMR-like, and you know, it's kind of the post-tea time animated feature of the game, it looks like. I did not realize it before, but from this new clip, you can kind of pick up that they're using binaural audio, hence the ASMR comparison. The clip of Amber from the Somniel trailer also has directional audio. I just never noticed it. It is very slight. For those of you wondering about S-rank supports and marriage, first off, no S-ranks have been seen yet, and second, even if S-rank and marriage does exist, we're not going to know since that's definitely post-chapter 8 stuff for sure. However, we got a shot of the Memento drawer, and it currently only states, it looks like something important belongs here. Considering this feature is in Alir's private room, maybe that's a hint at what could happen. We haven't gotten much first-hand info on characters, but Matt in his follow-up video gave his thoughts on Yunaka and Louis, who I ended up liking. Yunaka continues to intrigue me because Matt describes her as putting up a goofy, less serious front to hide her more serious past of thieving. We've seen a bit of this where in conversations, Yunaka's very cheery, kind of goofy, but her quick quotes in battle are more intense. Yunaka seems to be trying to turn her life around from thieving, but it was also confirmed that she indeed did steal Micaiah's emblem ring initially. We also got confirmation on the Japanese side that Yunaka is associated with Brodia. I'm really curious who she stole the ring from. As for Louis, he was mentioned he likes to people watch and is seen as an observant character when it comes to people. Matt mentioned that Louis' support with Yunaka showcased that Yunaka wasn't really comfortable talking about herself and her less reputable past, but Louis had picked up on that, so he was willing to just talk about himself the whole time instead. Seems like a quirky character, but a good dude. Regarding Jean, his name is definitely pronounced Jean. I love the consistency of spelling and pronunciation in the English language. We got to see Jean in action a little bit, as well as how to recruit him. He does come from a paralog and he joins a level 1, so you gotta protect and train him before his bonus growths kick in. Keep in mind, early game our only other healer is Fram, and then you got Emblem Micaiah offering a way to use staffs. John is our second martial monk, so more healing, and depending on how good Chain Guards ends up being for Chi Adept, he might be a valuable character to have around. From the Japanese Fire Emblem Twitter account, we got 4 character showcases. We already went over all the known characters in my big overview for Engage, but we got some extra tidbits. For Seadall, he's our one and probably only dancer in Engage. He's a mysterious dancer from Somme, and he also is the one who does the fortune telling in the Somniel. Next, Goldmary is one of Hortensia's retainers and one of our hero units. She was described as shy and can be straightforward with her words. However, the Twitter post mentioned she loves herself. Maybe that means she's a bit narcissistic, not really sure what to make of her character just yet. For Zelkov, he is one of Ivy's retainers, and while a more quiet character, he likes having many hobbies. We learned that everything he says has hidden meanings or implications. Not too surprising since he's our second thief. Last for this week, they highlighted Merrin, our very cool new Wolf Knight. They specifically mentioned she likes to pursue stylishness, and from the website we knew she likes animals, hence her class. Merrin was in the photo mode showcase, and I noticed she is actually quite tall. Maybe the other girls are just really super short. Between her fantastic design and repping the new Wolf Knight class, I feel like she'll be a very popular character for sure. That's going to be it for this week's round of news. A lot was shown thanks to Matt Zawodniak from Nintendo World Report. Big shout out again. If you want to see more screenshots, check out their gallery on their website. I'll have it linked in the description. With only less than a week left till launch, it kind of is feeling like we're not going to get much of anything new in terms of promotions. No major plot twists like the 3 Houses time skip, or no surprise third tier of classes to reveal. It feels like the preview Embargo footage has done a good enough job showing exactly what to expect from Engage. Gameplay looks solid, but it's unknown if that feeling persists through the rest of the game, considering the emblems look super OP. Characters look great from what I've seen, and if you've seen the main theme, then you can kind of tell what sort of vibe this game is going for. From the continuing Japanese Twitter account showcases, we see how much polish has been put into the game. The photo mode looks actually well done, and I think people will get a lot of use out of that. In the coming week, for my Fire Emblem Heroes players, reminder, it is very likely the Engage banner is coming on the 16th or 17th. It looks like we're going to get some very early hype before launch. I don't have any concrete plans, but I might put out some more Engage videos before launch since we've had a lot of new information built upon what we've been learning over time. I think it would be nice to have a condensed overview of all the new mechanics especially. If we get the introduction to Fire Emblem trailer translated into English, then maybe I won't do this, but I don't know, man. Nintendo Systems or Nintendo don't seem interested in giving Engage much of anything else. Some official hype would be appreciated. That's all I got for now. Let me know what you're excited for in Fire Emblem Engage, and I will see you soon for the launch of the game.